Welcome to my review of Eejanaika, the S&S 4th dimension coaster at Fuji-Q Highland in Japan. This ride is the largest of its kind, and it has been high up on my bucket list for a long time. And after finally being able to ride it, I've got a lot to say about it. But as always, let's get into the stats first. Eejanaika is a massive roller coaster, sitting at an impressive height of 76 meters. It also is really fast, with a top speed of 126 km an hour, and its track length of 1135 meters is pretty solid as well. Due to the 4th dimensional trains, which can rotate the seats 360 degrees, there is no clear number of inversions in my eyes. Eejanaika has 3 trains, and it can operate with 2 of them at the same time. Each train has 5 rows with space for 4 riders, so each train can hold up to 20 people. The seats are situated next to the track, which makes Eejanaika a wing coaster as well. During my visit to Fuji-Q Highland, I had 2 rides on Eejanaika, one in the middle and one in the front. And before I even hit the brake run on my first ride, I already knew that this was the best coaster that I have ever ridden. After 8 years of their Kärnan being my favorite coaster, Eejanaika managed to take the top spot, and it honestly isn't even that close. Basically, Eejanaika delivered the most out of control ride that I've ever experienced. But before I'll go more into detail, let me talk about the boarding process first. Without a skip the line pass, you are going to be in line for a while, because those trains don't get dispatched frequently enough. During the wait, you'll see tons of over-the-top safety regulations. And while I'm the last person to question a park's safety measurements, having to take your shoes and your watch off, or even removing your earrings felt a bit over the top. They even recommend getting your bone density checked if you are unsure about your physical condition. Once you've reached the station, you should be prepared to put all of your belongings, including your shoes, into lockers. Before being assigned a row, there is a metal detector to check if you really took everything off. While waiting for your train, a staff member presents the final safety measurements before doing some weird hand gestures that the riders need to replicate. I didn't understand that part, but it was hilarious. After that, you can finally board the train, which is a bit tricky. The seat is fairly high off the ground, so it takes a little leap to get in. Then you need to fasten 2 seat belts before waiting for the staff to bring down the restraint for you. The restraint itself is like a jacket, so your right upper body and left upper body get secured by individual restraints. These restraints need to be secured by a 3rd seat belt, which adds up to a total of 5 restraint parts. The seating position is a bit strange, as your lower body feels very open, partially because you're not wearing shoes. Once the ride operators checked all the restraints, which takes time because of the overcomplicated restraints, the dispatch sequence begins. Some guy with a crazy sounding voice says some stuff, and as far as my Japanese goes, it's something about the ride being ready to start. Then follows the Eejanaika chant, where the ride's name gets chanted repeatedly. On top of that, the whole station starts to clap their hands in sync with the chant, and that's when your seat tilts back and the train dispatches. After that long and entertaining, but ultimately quite intimidating dispatch sequence, the train rolls around the pre-lift turn, where you are almost getting tilted upside down, before tilting back to the normal backwards position on the lift hill. After a long climb to the top, where you get a nice view, the train rolls down a pre-drop. That pre-drop is your last chance to brace for what's to come. But to be honest, nothing could prepare you for Eejanaika. I'm going to try my best to describe the ride experience, but an accurate description of the forces throughout each of the elements is almost impossible. Also, I apologize for strong language during the layout overview. After the pre-drop, the train rises up again for the actual drop. The seats get tilted so you're facing straight down on the drop, and for some reason, it's a lot scarier than any other vertical drop. I don't even remember if this drop had airtime, I was trying to brace for the first flip on both of my rides. Right before the track begins to level out, the seats do a really fast flip to bring you back to the standard position again, and that's when you realize how messed up Eejanaika actually is. Right after that crazy flip, the following valley and Raven turn are packed with strong positive Gs, and before you know it, the backflip at the top of the Raven turn throws you around again. I really can't stress enough how absolutely ridiculous these flips are. You lose any sense of direction, and the shakiness of the train enhances that feeling. Eejanaika is not a smooth ride, as it's quite shaky throughout most of the ride, but that's honestly a good thing. Following the crazy Raven turn is Eejanaika's massive 0G roll, which is one of 3 elements on the ride that might honestly be too much. I don't even know what was going on during this element, but my legs were being ripped out of the train. They were far away from where I put them when I boarded the train, and I was right in the middle of being scared and laughing my ass off. This 0G roll is completely fucked up. Whenever I was watching on-ride videos of Eejanaika, I always thought that the overbanked turn gave you some time to catch a breath. Well, I was wrong. While there only is a minimal tilting motion during the turn, the train flies through that turn super fast, resulting in strong positive Gs and a consistently out of control feeling. But after that turn follows what might be the most insane element of the whole ride. Next up is the first fly to lie, and it hits right when you think the ride won't get any crazier. It's a rapid whip combined with a quick seat tilt, and it does everything the 0G roll does but much faster. I don't even know if I want to call this element fun anymore, and that's exactly why it's perfect. At this point I was just terrified. The ride wasn't even over yet, and it already surpassed all expectations. Before you even get the chance to comprehend the fly to lie, the train already plummets down the second Raven turn, which not only has really strong positive Gs, but it once again tries to make you faint. I highly recommend staying away from whatever Alan Schilke smoked when he designed this ride. Without any warning, the train hits the second fly to lie, and this one is as fucked up as the first one. And instead of landing back in your seat and hitting the brakes normally, the fly to lie is followed by another forwards tilt. So even when hitting the final brake run, you have no sense of direction. In short, Eejanaika is by far the most out of control roller coaster that I've ever ridden, and it's generally the craziest thing that I ever got to experience. While normal roller coasters are just pure fun, whether they are extreme or not, Eejanaika is just flat out terrifying. I personally love it for that, but this ride is probably a tad too much for most people. My first ride was in the middle of the train, and that one was already messed up, but the front row ride I got in the afternoon made me hold onto the restraints so hard that my hands were hurting afterwards. Before Eejanaika, the top spots of my coaster ranking were all very close together, and I assumed that there were hardly any rides that could go beyond that level. Well, Eejanaika did. It's the best roller coaster I've ridden, and it probably will keep that title for a while. For a final score, it obviously receives a perfect score of 10+. And that was my review of Eejanaika at Fuji-Q Highland. Thanks for watching. Bye.